Hello everyone. It is jessicaamaladawn, and I am back here for another weekly video. I am doing this on my phone today with my microphone that I've got here. I am going to get a new phone, but the reality is that if I want to be able to like see you while I'm doing the cards on my phone, while I'm doing the cards as opposed to having it face the other way, the phone's gonna flip the image so that like you can't. Hey Diana, thanks for joining. Great to have you. So that basically like you won't be able to read the words on the card. So I don't really, to be honest, I'm not really sure why I was having the issue on the computer with the sound, because even when I'm using a good mic that like is, when I test that mic on the computer to do voice recordings, it comes through better than the internal mic by a notable amount. So, and it works great. So it's something to do with like Facebook Live, and like I could put conspiracy theories around it. There's been a lot of people actually on YouTube that I follow who have been having all sorts of different kinds of issues lately. Some have had to shut down their Patreon account. Some are getting their entire account swiped and stolen to like kind of get copied and reused by another like fraudulent person. There's like people that are getting like harassed by like we don't really know who, but they're getting constantly bombarded and harassed and fully surveilled. I also can say for myself for quite some time, hey Megan, thanks for joining, great to have you. For quite some time, I actually have been like noticing pictures on my computer that I like have never seen before that were like suddenly on my hard drive, like in my photos. And some of them were disturbing pictures. Then other pictures that were like things that like I never downloaded were suddenly there, like, even if I had seen them. And it was like honestly super disturbing. And I never said anything about this to anyone for over a year or longer because I I honestly just like thought that nothing productive was going to come out of it, because ultimately we're creating our reality with our minds. So to have a strong fear-based response to seeing that kind of like what seems like interference and intervention on my computer, to the point where like there was even like a picture that was put on there of a woman who like didn't really have like pupils. Hey Sarah, great to have you. Thanks for joining. Like basically like somebody who looked like they didn't have like a soul. Like that was just, it was just honestly disturbing. So there's just lots of, in light of all these like issues coming up with other people, and the fact that I know that now like we're safely into the fifth dimension, like hooray, that it's okay to like kind of talk about this openly and not have to like really be overly concerned about it. So, for those of you that are like new and haven't like watched a lot of my videos, and that might just seem like out of left field a little bit, it's actually not even something that I like normally talk about in my work and in my videos. It's just something that like, because I've been having all these technical issues, I just felt like I had to say something, because like I even had a reading this week that said that specifically that like there has like intentionally been like intervention technically in order to kind of like create a block or a disturbance from my work being able to grow and reach more people. So, which, makes a lot of sense to me. So, because of like the troubles that I've been having. So, it's great to have you here. They said that those blocks are going to be removed and I don't have to worry about it, and it's all good. So that's amazing. And I also am kind of like growing and expanding and reaching out to more people and, finding new ways to broaden my network and broaden my scope of how I can reach and help more people with my work. So it's also kind of impetus for me to kind of like do that as well, and like just like kind of work even harder to not, accept that and say that like I am meant to reach a lot of people, and I am reaching a lot of people, and I do, and it's wonderful and beautiful. So, hey Rachel, great to have you. So, having said all of that, there's a lot of new people, which is like awesome. It's really great to have you. So, having said all that, I typically, if you're new, pull cards on Friday night to talk about the energies that are going on. And then usually I'll do like a little preamble before that, just to kind of talk about where I'm at, where the week is, where the general energies are. And then I'll kind of dive into the cards and they'll kind of reflect what's going on with the current energies. And a lot of my words and information is channeled directly from my higher self, from spirit. And it's not premeditated. All the cards is like really just a message to you from the divine. So take what resonates and leave the rest. So having, said all of that, I really feel like the dream is opening up, if you will. And so, if you're resonating with that, it's because you've reached a new like level in your development and your vibration to kind of release the old paradigm of separation from being a creator, separation from source, separation from your soul, your higher self, that kind of kept you in this illusion of lack and control by others as a result of being stuck in this notion of separation and lack, which was an illusion and was always an illusion. And, that illusion has been in place for thousands and thousands of years. It really goes back to like late Atlantis period, if you are familiar with Atlantis and Lemuria. But in Lemuria, there was no separation from source or from God. And it was, as such, it was a more kind of divinely feminine oriented culture. And we haven't known that energy on Earth since that time, which, has been, I think, it's a very long time. It's, to be honest, the record keeper planet of the divine feminine of all of those energies is Sedna. And Sedna has a 26,000 year orbit. It's the largest orbit of a dwarf planet in our solar system. So it's the only consistent planet we know, way, 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 that goes way, way out there, that we actually have, categorized as a dwarf planet with a regular orbit in our solar system. And so it's very appropriate that that is the record keeper of the divine feminine, because like we are now fully kind of getting to a point where Sedna is kind of coming back from this very, very long trip. And as she starts to return, she's bringing in the energy of the goddess, because she's bringing that access to that part of the Akashic library that is the part, that whole row, that aisle that is the divine feminine, that has been accessible until now. And that's just opening up, and it's really going to open up a lot more in January of 2020. So there's a lot of really exciting things to look forward to, but it's also going to come with a lot of chaos, because there's going to be some people that are not, ready to, or we'll just say they're not like really ready for those energies. And so it's going to be a bit of a jolt of like all the stuff, all the sort of work they're going to have to do to come into balance, or in order to be able to harmonize with those energies. And a lot of people haven't done that work yet. And so it's going to be like a little bit abrupt and brutal for a lot of people that are meant to kind of connect with those energies, but haven't done the healing work in order to connect. And all of that is all meant to ultimately, it's not to hurt anyone, but all of these energies really are meant to come in now, because the cycle has returned, but it's also going to bring about that balance of the divine feminine that's really needed in order to birth the divine masculine, which is also kind of been missing because you need that divine feminine to birth a divine masculine so that we can have another, what we call like a golden age, which is like the new earth paradigm. And there's been lots of people that have been doing a lot of work for quite a long time in order to prepare the, open certain like gateways and portals of energy on the earth and create a whole new energetic grid on earth that's crystalline, that's connected to Lemurian energies, and that's entirely new and totally new energy for us to tap into, where we're kind of able to connect with that energy, but ultimately we're manifesting our own energy within that system through our toroidal field and through our open hearts. Whereas at the old earth grid, we were always drawing our energy up from the earth the same way that we've always been extracting resources from the earth and not necessarily giving back what we've extracted, which is why we've often had we see so many problems with the environment in terms of soil degradation, pollution in the oceans. It's all connected to that old 7 chakra energy system where we're drawing our energy down from the earth and up through our root and up, which is different than this sort of more, we'll just say that quantum 12 chakra system that we're moving into, where we're manifesting through the flower of life that exists between our heart chakra and our solar plexus. So, hey Dallin, great to have you. Hey Vanessa, great to have you. So if you want to learn a little bit more about that, let me know. Just post it in the comments and I can talk about it more in another video. Strategy just came up. We just got our first card. It's a strategy. So I feel like this sort of is kind of the whole point of why this card came up, is because there's been a lot of signs it is time to kind of step more into the masculine energy, into the divine masculine energy, and that it's ready now. Like basically enough of that divine masculine energy is able to come into the physical, whether it's within you or with a masculine counterpart, in order to create a strategy for moving forward with a project, with a new relationship, with a passion, mission, anything of those natures that's requiring a sort of strategy. And so that you can take little steps each day towards your goals to make it come true. And now, like I said, now that we've laid all this groundwork, now that we're sort of have found this footing in the 5th dimension, and the divine masculine has been birthed, it's time to do this. And there's been like a lot of blessings that have come in from Yeshua and Mary Magdalene that have been, very clear that this is the case. And also the last card that I pulled for last week's reading was the new man, which is another confirmation that it's arrived and now it's time to move forward. This is very exciting. So, okay, I just got guided to put down Energy Oracle and pick up other cards. So I've got here my Avalonian Oracle by, I always get her name wrong, Telyndru, I think. I feel bad. I love trying to say her name because she's fabulous and I love promoting her. Her cards are full of beautiful, benevolent energies. And these cards that are really, if you look at the cover of the book, you can see that she's really fully connecting with her sword of truth. And it really reminds me of the Queen of Swords from the Rider-Waite Tarot, and how it's so important at this time to kind of tap into that energy. And, it's almost like, we had come up in other weeks, we had the energy of the Queen of Wands combining with the Queen of Cups, which is the fire and the water, alchemizing. And through that alchemy, basically what's coming about now is the feminine has the ability to transcend her thoughts and her emotions. Or I guess you could say, passionate, heated thoughts and, deep emotions, in order to kind of connect with, we'll just say, that divine mind. And a lot of people often see the Queen of Swords as it's just messages like really wanted to come out. So I just go with these things. I know it's not the card, but I just get called to what I get called to, and it always is the right thing. So, but yeah, a lot of the time I've heard in the past people say like Queen of Swords is like bad. In reverse, I would be like, kind of worried because like there might be some shady business and this could be like a really cutthroat person. But really, it's an energy that's super connected to being like, uh, it's sort of like a priestessy energy, like because it's so connected to the ethers and like I said, the Akashic records. So as I was speaking about earlier, having that new access to the divine feminine records that were previously unavailable. But that can only come through once we've sort of overcome the limitations of being, we'll just say, at the whim or controlled by those other, we'll just say those very human emotions that need to be balanced out with the spiritual at this point in time. So sorry if that was a little bit long-winded, but let's see what cards want to come through. Yeah. So we've got here retrieving the sword. So it's the same woman on the card, which doesn't surprise me at all. It just like popped right out. And you can see she's in the water, and there's somebody with a cloak in the boat that's kind of gone out and met with her. So that person in the boat is you on your journey. That's going to reach out and meet this Queen of Swords and retrieve your own Akashic inheritance and all the gifts it brings. Oh, that gives me chills. Oh my gosh. And part of those gifts have to do with being the Hearth Keeper. And I love this card. And what this card has a lot to do with is about revaluing the role of mother, revaluing the role of caring for children and raising children. It's been coming up a lot this week. That whole energy of connecting with being a part of your children's education, the whole idea of apprenticeship, the idea of becoming one with, that way of life that's really connected to family, and being happy to be a homemaker on some level, as that is in alignment with the will of the divine. That you would, as if you are a mother, or if you intend to become a mother, that you would want to be, fully entangled, which is say quantumly, physically, spiritually, etherically with that beautiful child. Hey Tamara, great to have you. Thanks for joining. And science actually also confirms that literally the cells of the child and of the mother exchange before the baby is born, and so part of you is in your child and part of your child is in you, literally, even after they go. And on a spiritual level, you're always energetically corded to your child until they're about 7. And they think that in a lot of, even when you think about like a lot of the divine imagery of like a Mother Mary, or a lot of divine mothers, there's that deep bond, whether it be that breastfeeding bond or that tight nurturing bond. And you've got here, she's making the fire while she's sort of caressing the baby and holding the baby, and the baby's not off in a crib or in a carriage. It's just sleeping with her. And that's, you could call that like attachment parenting, but I think that's not really a just word for it. Just really reigniting the depth of really what that role as mother really means. Because in truth, so many of the dysfunctions that we have in our society right now to do with mental, emotional problems that people face are rooted in abandonment, because of the fact that we have lost the depth of this connection to this wisdom, to this nurturing, to this knowledge, and on a deeper level. And not to say that there's not still like instincts around this kind of deeper connection, because there is, but the whole push and drive to, it goes even further back than that. Like, woman kind of became a very big part of the workforce, particularly in the 1970s and onwards, to kind of do what it is that a man could do out in the work world and not have to necessarily be, at the whim of somebody else's control and opinions. And there's good things about that in terms of not having to be controlled because of like a lack of income, and also being able to explore your creative talents and your abilities with your own autonomy. And those are good things. But this whole idea that a woman is meant to work just the way that a man would work, even after she becomes a mother, and in some cases, does, and I know I have done it as well in my own life. But the truth is when you're really, really deeply connected with your child, it's really hard to do that. My daughter's a Cancer, and my rising sign is Cancer, and that's the sign of the mother. And it's really deep, and she's very sensitive, and it's something that I truly cherish, being able to be her mom. And I've noticed that since I've let go of holding on to this role, I can't believe I'm spending this long on these cards, but these are just the messages that want to come through to whoever's meant to hear them. And I've noticed since I sort of let go of being in this, trying to just do whatever I can to hold up in something that was kind of stressing and straining me and draining me with my job, and trying to be on top of everything when everything was like falling apart because it was too much. And now, as I'm I sort of just decided that I was going to put myself first and put the truth in my heart first, and where spirit was guiding me first. And spirit was definitely kind of kicking me to move in a new direction. That everything is turning into this beautiful flowing dream. And it's lovely. Hey, Breland, awesome to have you. And this beautiful flowing dream is, I'm realizing, where everything just comes together piece by piece. Things that I've written down, a month ago or 2 years ago, just come to me exactly at the right moment when I need it, right? And every almost my life was this amazing puzzle that was just putting itself together today, from here, there, and everywhere. And then seeing, signs and synchronicities everywhere. And then you've got your triple number sequences too, on top of all of that, 444s and 555s. And you put all of that together, and life is just you can't stop it. Just say wow, everything is a co-creation with God. Everything is divinely guided when we can allow ourselves to kind of release the fears, truly release our fears out of our, not just out of our psyche, but also out of our body and our muscles and our tissues. Something which flower essences help a lot with that, which is a great time to say that because Breland is here. And it really helps us to get rid of this addiction to always having to do. And just to give a free tip, a great essence for that, which anyone can make because it grows everywhere, is dandelion. Because it actually helps to uproot that addiction to, almost people are addicted to being stressed, I think, addicted to being anxious. It's actually not that hard to stop when we stop and we make the intention to remove that from our system and take something as simple as a dandelion, which people consider a weed, and help that to literally open your lion heart and your courage to make a different choice and to choose to really connect with co-creating with source, as opposed to feeling like you have to be the director of your life and your happiness. But it requires some letting go, some allowing, or some people like surrender, but just allowing and letting it see how things kind of fall. And it's beautiful. It's a beautiful, beautiful process. Wow. So I can't believe I spoke that much on those cards so far. But let's pull a goddess card. And let's see what wants to pop up here. So these cards were really calling to me tonight. Yeah. So this is actually Infinite Bliss 22. And this card is actually a card that's unique to this deck. This card is beyond the world card. Because what this deck does is it takes all the major arcana from the Rider-Waite Tarot and it translates them into like these goddess meanings. And it added one or two more cards past the world, past that stage of like completion. And this is that absolute final card. And it's amazing that it's 2-2, which is a union number. So it has to do with union with your higher self, which the bird is symbolizing that it's a symbol for the fifth dimension as well, but it's also a symbol to connecting with your higher self. And she's also, while she's connected, and it's got a sun in there as well, right? Because you are a sun, right? And so that sun self of you, that sun source star self of you is connected, as well as she's got this like root underneath her feet. It's like, it looks like the center of the earth or something like that. And then, she's got all of this amazing energy that's flowing around her, and she's just totally lit up because she's fully connected to through all the dimensions, from the center of the earth up to her higher self. And through that balance of energies and that ignition of energies, she's fully come to life, and she's fully in flow and in harmony with the universe, and that's creating a state of infinite bliss. So I really think this is like a beautiful card and a beautiful description of the energies that are opening up right now, that are available for you to step into, that I'm presenting you with. And it might be that a lot of people don't necessarily see this reading tonight because maybe not everyone is right there yet. And some people that are watching might feel like, I'm not really there yet. And this could, maybe even trigger some people, because they might say like, this might just like rub on all those things that are still in the way of feeling this bliss, that want to go. Just by being presented with the high vibration of this energy, it just might like make you want to kind of like go away, just because like something yucky might need to be felt in order for this energy to fully come through. And so if you resonate with that, I'm curious either way how you feel about these messages. But so you can always post in the comments, you can like the video, and it all helps me to get feedback from kind of where you guys are at and what you're feeling. So there's something else that I want to comes through here about I hear Amala, which is my name. She's saying she wants you to know that you're blessed and bestowed with the gifts of divine love and universal childlike wonder, innocence, and presence. And that in the fifth dimension, the illusion of separation is no more. Okay. Wow, that was a beautiful, powerful energy. and really beautiful to connect into that divine feminine presence. I hope you felt that the way I felt that. So next we're going to pull some energy oracle cards. And what wants to come through about this? I guess maybe this might give some more sense about like what to anticipate in this upcoming week, where things are at for the Divine Feminine Collective. What do people in the group need to know? What do people need to know? What do people need to know on their highest good? What do people need to know on their highest good? What do people need to know on their highest good? Okay, wow, interesting. So here I am, I'm like going on about all this stuff about like, you know, where I'm at and like all this blissed outness. And I look at these cards and I see like kind of a lot of the opposite of that energy, which is kind of like why I'm glad I mentioned the whole thing, that this might be kind of irritating some people. Breland said, I feel that deeply. Thank you. I'm glad that, yeah, I know. It's like great. These are great cards. They actually talk about a little bit about, not a lot, but a little bit about flower essences in this deck. It's the only deck I've ever come across that does. You definitely might want to check it out. So the first card that came through here is All Tied Up. I'm gonna go through them quickly before I explain. Then we've got second chakra, Archangel Ariel in reverse. And then we've got Journey in reverse. And then Happy Family in reverse. And then Rest and Rejuvenation in reverse. So basically what this is saying to me is that for the most part, and then I'll get into more details, is that there's definitely within the collective energy of the group that all of the stuff that I'm talking about those energies that I was in that was really keeping me all tied up, that I got out of, are still affecting a lot of people that are watching this. And a lot of that is because there's still a lot of healing that needs to happen in the second chakra, in the womb chakra, that is keeping people stuck. Hey Sadie, great to have you. Thanks for joining. And, you know, there could be like a combination of reasons for this. It could have to do with ancestral lineage trauma. So like could be a sort of mitochondrial DNA issue potentially. Could have to do with trauma from your earlier life. Hey Glenda, great to have you. Thanks for joining. It could have to do with even like a sexual trauma that happened in your later years. But whatever the reason being, or it could have to do with a sort of health, some sort of ill health, like to do with, you know, irregular periods, difficult menstrual cramps, endometriosis, uterine fibroids, etc. Like any and all of those things could apply. And it only takes, to be honest, like one or two of those to kind of keep you all tied up, because this is the first level of coming into your full awakening, is your womb awakening. It's your womb consciousness. And this is actually something that's verified by scientific measurements. There's a movie I was watching, which is done by David Dorita. I meant to check what the name of this movie was. It's on YouTube for free, and because I wanted to share it with you guys, but it's full of all sorts of like cool, like outside of the system science that was done to help explain a lot of the awakening phenomena, particularly if anyone's experienced telepathy or like a twin flame experience with a counterpart. It explains all of it in such a beautiful way, and it really, really will make anyone who's questioned themselves in any sort of supernatural phenomenon that they've experienced in any of those types of connections feel a whole lot more sane. So, you know, that even like could help to kind of allow people to have the freedom to maybe drop down out of their mind and the doubt in the mind, in order to kind of like drop down into doing that sort of yin, not thinking, womb healing work. That really is what allows these like new creations, new earth, 5D manifestations and that dream-like unfoldment to start to come into your life. So, so again, just to add to that, we also had all these cards, right, in reverse. So, there might have been in the past, some plans for some sort of journey that are being delayed or rerouted that could have people off. But generally speaking, what I'm sensing here, very much, very, very much so, is that instead of thinking about the next big holiday that's going to fix things, or some sort of bigger, grander idea, but what's going to fix things and really make your life magical, that might have to do with a trip of some kind, that really the answer that's really needed here is to stop and rest and to reconnect more with family. And until that rest kind of happens, right, that all these different happy family dynamics aren't going to come into resolution. And so I definitely think that my energy right now and where I'm at is just by even watching this and taking on these vibrations is going to help people to start to kind of look at these issues a little bit more closely and, turn this card around so that you're no longer tied up and that you can actually feel very free and your everyday life is magical, flowing, awesome abundance. So, what else wants to come through tonight? I'm so sorry the cards are backwards. I hate that. Before I even shuffle, the bottom of the deck said Spring Equinox Rebirth. So, and I remember we were looking at this card actually the other week, and it just felt like it wanted to show itself again. So, I feel like there is something to this. There is something to something very magical in terms of a greater number of people coming into we'll just say their status as a co-creator in the spring. And I think that's very, very interesting because the workshop that I'm doing at a amazing alchemy retreat in Mount Shasta is going to be falling over April 22nd and 23rd, which is Earth Day. Well, it's actually a 4-day event, but it falls over those days. And one of those is Earth Day. And that's just after Easter, Easter is aligned with that, period of rebirth into the spring equinox. And I know that we're going to be doing amazing work to open up gateways and portals to the higher dimensions, to the earth, to some elements in the earth that are going to help people to unlock and open higher levels of consciousness that are going to create more innovations and really help people shift fully into the 5th and 6th dimension. And some people beyond, but just, we'll just say at a general level, a more 5D experience of everyday life, and definitely a greater connection to that's much more fluid to that 6th dimensional higher self relationship. So that's all what we're working on now here into the spring. And so whoever is here for the ride is in for a treat. So, I don't know, is there anything else that even wants to come through for those cards? I don't think so. I think that just really wanted to show its face again. Archangel Gabriel wanted to have a quick speak and share a few cards. I'm so curious to know what you guys think of what I'm sharing tonight, and if this resonates with you on how many people this message is really for. I definitely feel like there's a solid group of you that to some degree or another definitely need to hear this message because it's so universal for I think there's just so many women in general that work very busy jobs, especially moms that are working and kind of running themselves ragged, that are about to go through a big sea change in how they live their lives. And it's exciting. And so these cards are really all about, they actually are about parenting. They're also about your creative work and your creative writing. So what did they want to share? What's the message for the group this week? Nice. Happy news. Your prayer is answered in a creative way. And then on the underside of the deck, Mother Mary, the Blessed Mother, is helping you with your divine life purpose. So definitely call upon Mother Mary in your prayers to assist you with whatever it is that you're hoping to bring more into alignment, whether that be more time with family, more free time, more ability to follow your passions and your passion projects. And she's definitely here and available to help you right now. I actually lit a candle for her before this reading, not knowing that she would be on the underside of this deck. So that kind of makes me feel really a little teary and sweet. She's definitely sending everybody her love. So, what else here? Akashic Tarot. Let's share cards. Let's do these, shuffle these up. I really do quite love the Akashic Tarot. Sometimes it can be a really kind of hard on you deck. These are by Sandra and Taylor and Sharon and Klingler. And yeah, like sometimes they can just be like very to the point and like you might not like it. And I think that's why some people maybe don't use them, because like, I don't know, it's hard to like kind of like put a spin on their honesty sometimes. But I like that because I think it's important to hear the truth in a way that's like, no, there's nothing dark, like there's nothing dark about them. They're just honest about where you need to grow and the reality of a situation. And I think that's really, really positive. And I feel like Mother Peace Tarot is similar in that way when it comes to like growing in your divine feminine presence. So they're like that as well in a different way. So what does the divine feminine need to hear for the advice this week? What's the advice? What's the advice for the week? Can you please clarify? Oh yeah, these are coming through a lot. And what's the other advice for the divine feminine? Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Okay. So yeah, so first of all, just on the underside of the deck, we have strategy. The chess game. I said strategy because we already had the strategy card come up. So it's important, it's a kind of like a double message that it's important to spend some time to lay that down. And again, we got the journey reverse. So it's very interesting because I even myself had a trip that I was supposed to plan, and I've been sort of very, hesitant and wishy-washy about whether or not to book it. Because it even said in my journal to book it. And in my 5-minute journal, it said this week to book the trip. And yet I've still been wishy-washy. And then here I am now twice with the journey in reverse, which is a really strong sign not to travel right now. So I'm not sure what the reason is for that, but there's always a reason. And maybe I'll do a little follow-up to kind of try and... Actually, you know what? Let's just do it now. I'm going to pull a clarifier card about why that's in reverse. What's the reason? What's the reason why the Seven of Roses, the journey, is in reverse? Okay. And here's the King of Scrolls. So there's some person that might be assisting with some new project, or communicating, or that might be coming to communicate something. Could be a divine masculine counterpart potentially. Could be a boss, but probably a counterpart. And that could be timing-wise sort of conflicting with some sort of potential travel plans. So just to be conscientious and aware about that. And here we've got Hilarion came up to clarify spring. So again, the spring is coming up twice. So And Hilarion is like, he's sort of like we'll just say like he's very connected to science and wisdom, and like combining science, technology, and academic, sort of more rigorous, formal, scientific methodology to spiritual studies. And actually, that's very, very related to the movie that I saw. I'll have to find it and post it in the comments, the name of it, or a link. I'll just post the YouTube link so people can watch it if they want. It's long. It's like 2.5 hours, but it's fantastic. And there's loads of information in there. And it's totally like, I feel like Hilarion definitely guided me to watch that video to try and get a little bit more of a scientific understanding of spiritual stuff. And what I feel is like this is all something that's like it's important to pursue that that type of inquiry right now, leading up to this spring period where some new seeds are going to be planted. And I actually, Hilarion came to me a lot in planning my workshop material for the retreat at Mount Shasta in the spring, which I mentioned previously. So there's something that's being sort of, I guess, prepared for that time. So if you're drawn to any material that's a little bit different from you, that might help you have a more scientific understanding about, or more academic understanding to do with like new coursework that you're being drawn to do, definitely do it. Like absolutely do it. That's the message. And with these cards kind of clarifying, you know, it just could be that just like I feel like there's just like a pause until that time, and like a need to kind of collaborate with some other people that are going to help you maybe write something or communicate something, you know, leading up to that period, to be ready to have something to share. So last but not least, I'm going to pull a Lemurian card. My lovely, lovely Lemurians. And I'd love to know if people resonated with this video. I'm kind of dying to know how the sound turned out because I don't know right now. If it didn't work, you know, I might just have to switch to doing these a different way. I might have to not do them live. I love kind of the idea of live video, but you know, it could just be that like I'm kind of getting a little kick from if it didn't work, it could just be like a kick to the universe to like move into doing this in a different way, which is, you know, fine, because I'm getting a lot of push from the universe to step more into my divine masculine. And I guess you could say that I have been really wanting to like improve on my communication skills to ensure that as I step out in a bigger way, that I sound credible and clear and consistent. Thank you, Breland. Oh, that's good. The sound is good. Awesome. Yeah, the screeching has been when the screeching noises come through, it's horrible. So I'm glad that there has been no problems in that respect. So these Lemurian cards, you haven't experienced them before, have the highest vibration and most loving vibration with the most beautiful ancient Lemurian wisdom that I have ever come across. These cards alone, I would say, like, is a life-changing deck. Here's the picture. I've never said that about a deck of cards before, that they're life-changing, but they are. They're life-changing. So, and they really sync up with like even we'll just say like people that are teaching like really, really high vibrational teachings about manifestation, who might not typically like cards because they might feel like a card reading disempowers a person from creating their own life. I think even they would really, really enjoy these cards because they're just so, especially with the messages, are so full of uplifting, positive, wisdom that you just can't help but get uplifted by them. Like, I don't know anybody living their everyday life in quite that high of a vibe yet. Although I certainly hope to meet them someday. So, and I'm sure I will, because we're headed into an era of light and love. So, as I say all of that, let's just pick one or two cards for the group that wants to come through and share their message for the week of love, help people with their growth, and feeling that energy, those energies of love from Lemuria to kind of inspire people to raise their own vibration this week. Yeah. Very clear. Rising to Palladian frequencies. So on point. Sacred bond. Healing clear space for higher energies. So I think that sums up everything that I said really well. Like creating sacred bond with yourself, with your family. And that, like I said, that healing that clears space for these higher energies to come through. So that we're no longer, all tied up in lower energies that are keeping the heart all blocked from being able to access the higher dimensions. So, and, I think once you've really experienced these higher energies, because the Palladian frequencies are very, very similar and connected to those Lemurian Starchild energies, then there's really, you want to kind of aim towards there. You want to stay there and move towards there. So I hope that even just by like looking at this card, I hope that you're getting some of the feel of the it's very ethereal, it's very uplifting. It's the hummingbird energy in itself it's beyond 5D. I mean, all birds are 5D, but this is like 670 and above. It's really opening the gateways to those higher energies so that in the physical, that we can actually move the physical up to connect with the fifth dimension, and then also have those more energetic connections to those higher frequencies to help hold us there and stabilize that frequency. One of my favorite teachers, her name is Maureen Moss, and she says, if anything, children, remember, your job is to be a holder of frequency. And she channeled that from her Syrian guides. She's got the most powerful connection to Syrian guides of anybody I've ever met. And certainly when I've done transmissions with her, I feel like I'm getting a little bit fried by the seventh dimension. But that's okay. It's not every day. And it's truly an honor and a blessing to have her play that role and have helped me to lift me up so that I can do this work for you. So I hope that you really connected with this. Lisa, thank you so much for joining. It's great to have you. I'm going to close here. It feels right. It was really good to be in the flow. I'm sure who knows, I might do another video. There's a lot to say, a lot going on. I didn't really even get into like the details of relationships today. This just kind of wants to stay up for a little bit. But certainly there's been a lot of signs about things definitely moving to a point of completion with not only that holy union with the fifth dimension, with my physical self, but also with the impending connection with a counterpart. And what role that's going to play and how that's going to kind of change my life a little bit. So I don't, who knows exactly how that's going to come together. But if you are noticing a very increased level of synchronicity in your life around that, if you're seeing a lot of messages around something to do with coming together with a divine masculine counterpart, best to just like trust it and allow it, because there's a lot of people that are going to start coming into some sort of unions now. You don't have to assume who it's going to be. It could be it could be somebody from your past. It might not. You don't have to worry about it. Just stay open and stay loving, and please do if there's anything that happens and you want to share, please reach out, mention it in the group. It's great to always hear about these things. And just remember to stay in that frequency of faith, trust, love, and use your intentions, use your mind to intend for your healing of anything that feels still stuck and out of alignment. So again, I think that that message is just maybe for select few people, because from what I see from the cards here, there's still some steps that need to go for a lot of people to get to this place. But know that it's heading somewhere really beautiful and wonderful. So I love you. I really do. I love doing these readings. I love growing as a reader, and getting more confident and clear with my expression. And I just really can't wait to keep sharing more and more tips, techniques, guided meditations. Really just keep going with being of my highest level of service in whatever ways want to come forth in the weeks ahead. So with all that said, I love you. Namaste, and have a great week.